If today were the last day, would it change how you feel who you are? Would you rise above your fears? Become more like the sun. Would you like what you see now? Did you hear every word? Have you done the things that you wanted to do? Is there still so much more that you would? Would you live the moments like when you were young? When time didn't travel so fast, be free in the present, enjoying the now, not the time to the future. You probably say all you wanted to say, because it strikes you as strange that we only begin to start living our lives if today was the last long day. If today the last
Oh, there's a face I haven't seen for a while. Marcia, hello. Would you guys mind if I used the stand? I know.
Oh, no. Okay, let me help you.
Thank you. It just would make it a little easier for me. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Great, thank you.
Very good.
Move a whole lot closer.
Oh, I can do that. And I project well. It's just that today I'm having knee issues, and so I have to hold on to something. Good morning.
Good morning.
Come on, we gotta get the energy up in this place.
Good morning.
All right. So today I am very grateful to be here, and thank you very much to Vernetta for inviting me to speak. It's been about a year, I think, since I've been up here to actually offer the lesson. And I just want to let you know that a couple of things have been happening in my life, which has led to this particular topic. First, I like to kind of tell where my sources are. They bring the inspiration. From two TED Talks, one by John DeWall and Bruce Feiler on transitions, and this wonderful book called Finding Yourself in Transition. It's a Unity book by Robert, I don't know if it's Brumet? Brummett, okay. Usually there's two M's, if I remember my grammar correctly, to have a short vowel, but things have changed. Excellent book if you find yourself in transition. And that's where I have been finding myself lately. I gave this lesson, or offered this lesson, back in October 22nd to be exact, at our Farmington congregation. And I gave it because my mother, my ancient one, it wouldn't be a talk, if you know me, without me referencing my ancient one, who made her final transition on September 5th. And it was a struggle for her. So I'm very glad that it is in the past and done with. But I started thinking about, not because I wanted to, but because it was forced upon me, because I don't know who was more surprised that my ancient one had transitioned, her or me. Because you see, she did not intend to transition. She had made everything in her life, including her estate, which I'm now trying to oversee, she really intended to be well over 100 years of age, and she structured her estate with that in mind. She was very positive about living a very long life. She just missed it. She was just shy of 97, so she made it a good distance. But I was, frankly, quite surprised. And it put me into a transition. The second thing that I thought about when I was going through this with my ancient one, for some odd reason, was the thing that kept coming to mind was the Wizard of Oz. And I had I'm like, you know, you've seen this well, when I was a kid, well, probably when most of you were kids, when you knew it was Easter when the Wizard of Oz came on. I mean, that's when they showed it, right? So it's like, why is the Wizard of Oz coming to my mind during this period following the transition of my mother? I had no idea, and then it hit me. The Wizard of Oz is a story all about transitions. You just gotta look hard enough. Or use a different lens, if you would. So, with that in mind, this is, again, finding yourself in transition. I don't know, but I can tell from the hair color of most of us in here that most of us are over the age of 40. Most, not necessarily all. And if there's one thing that has come to mind in my life, is that life is not linear. I don't care what we were taught. We were taught, okay, here you're born, and then you go to school, and then you get your graduate degree or whatever, and then you find the right and perfect mate, and it's one mate for life, and then you move on, and maybe you have kids most of the time, and then you buy the house, and then you live, and then there's grandkids, which I understand are really wonderful things. I don't know, because mine has told me, no way, hard no, it stops with me. That's it. So I will never have that experience. And then you play with the grandkids for a while, and then the body takes over, and you're facing health challenges or whatever, and then you make your final transition just like my ancient one did recently. That's linear. ain't the way it happens. It ain't the way it happens. And it's when it doesn't happen the way that we have been taught to believe. And the truth be known, my parents' lives weren't linear either. They lived by certain rules. But even living within those rules, life is not linear. It's full of transitions. And what are transitions? They are disruptors. They disrupt the way that we think life should be. Ancient people, I think, understood this better than we do. And the reason that I think that is because the Bible is rife with transitions. The ancient Hebrews read the Hebrew scripture. I don't want to call it the Old Testament anymore, it's Hebrew scripture. It's all about the transition of these people until the coming of Jesus. That's what the whole story is about. And all their ups and downs, the kings, the queens, the prophets, the wars that go on in the Old Testament. I said it again. It's about the transition of Abraham taking Isaac up upon Mount Moriah, right? And then God changes his mind and says, no, don't sacrifice, it was just a test. It's transition. There have been other transitions since the good book. The ones that come to mind, close to when I'm living here on the planet, is the Industrial Revolution. Now, that was a transition. How about the space age? Most of us here remember Mercury, remember Sputnik, if you can go back that far. And then we had the space age, the information age. Dare I call this age the age of disinformation? We'll see what positive outcome comes out of this one. So transitions are disruptors. Now the other things about transitions is that they begin with an ending. All transitions begin with an ending. I don't care if it's a transition from the womb into the world. I mean, think about it. You're having a nice day, it's nice and cozy, it's warm, it's dark, and all of a sudden, things start to contract. And all of a sudden you're going, you show up, the lights are showing on you, you're wet, you're cold, you don't know what in the hell's going on. It's a transition. It's the ending of something that gives birth, that gives life to something new. Could be your first day of school, and as it will be in all our cases, it will be our last breath. Transitions are not about control. We don't control these transitions. I mean, we can aid in it. We can do well in school or we can't. We can put forth effort or we can hold back. We can participate in, whatever healthcare decisions that my physician has made to me. I can choose not to. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not really in control. What I need to learn and what I've been learning in the last 6 months since my ancient one's death has been surrendering the need to control. When I try to control, I try to think and live under the illusion that I have ultimate power in this situation. I do not. And it inhibits healing. Certainly did for me, putting this out there for you all to consider. But when we surrender the need to control, we have to ask ourselves a few questions. What do I do now? What do I do? I've never faced this kind of thing before. And how am I really limiting my options that may be out there, they are out there, of how I'm going to positively address this transition? How am I inhibiting the God power within me by trying to maintain what I think is control? Surrendering the need to control. Transitions are scary. Transitions are really scary. I stand before you a very, very frightened woman. May not look like it, but I am. And for a while, there was just so much busy things to do after my Ancient One transition that I didn't really have to think about it. Anybody who's been through the death of a loved one knows that for a while there, you're just on autopilot, aren't we? We're just on autopilot. We go through the motions, you have to get through the funeral. Yeah, the biggest meet and greet of your life, except the main attraction isn't there to really enjoy it. But it's scary. It's scary because it's unpredictable. I don't care how you practice going through something, the death of a loved one brings about some unpredictable feelings. Even if you can foresee, as is the case with, 96, 97-year-old people, 66-year-old person, that there's more in the rearview mirror than there is laying before me. We can practice it, but when it comes, it is unpredictable because we are not taught how to, or at least I wasn't, how to handle real transitions. What we were taught was that linear. Those of us who were boomers, there was a certain way. And so we're not taught necessarily how to positively handle transitions. Now this is kind of where Dorothy finds herself in The Wizard of Oz. She's out, she's run away from home. She runs into, I can't remember his name, the guy who looked in the crystal ball there and said, "Oh, I see your aunt," and she's crying and I gotta go back. But on the way back, you see it in the background. We call it a tornado. Some people call it a cyclone. And it's coming at her in the background, and she can't get into the fruit cellar, what we used to call fruit cellar. And she's left in the house. And we all know what happens then. The house gets picked up. We've seen it, right? And she comes down in black and white. And she's like, okay. She grabs Toto the dog, one of the best things in the whole thing. Grabs Toto the dog and opens the door, and what happens? What happens? Come on, I know you all know. Color. I don't know about you, but we didn't have a color TV. I know this is blasphemy to anybody under the age of 50. But I grew up with a black and white TV. And the first time that I saw color, it was like, this was magical. It was enchantment. The one thing that Dorothy's going to figure out is enchantment is disinformation. Transitions are not about being enchanted. Transitions are about learning and growth and being disenchanted, not in a bad way, but you get a dose of reality and learning and growth. Dorothy is now in Munchkin land. and she has to start on a brand new journey. So one of the things that your transitions do, even though they're scary and disorienting and unpredictable, is that you begin a journey like Dorothy to rewrite the story. Because this is a totally different story than her life in Kansas. It's a totally different story for me. Losing an ancient mother who I had lived with for many, 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 many years, as some of you know, prior to her departure. So transitions are journeys. They're journeys into the unknown. To the Hebrews, it was a journey into the wilderness, into the Sinai, and walking around for 40 years trying to find what is called in Scripture the promised land. Dorothy does not wander around the Sinai Peninsula. What does she have to follow? The yellow brick road. And so she begins, with Billy Burke in all of her glory, standing at the very beginning and starts going nowhere. Because the yellow brick road started, there was a very specific beginning point, and then it just kept curling around itself within Munchkin land, until the path then opens up and takes her on this new journey that she needed to surrender control of. So here's Dorothy and Toto and the little basket. She was wise enough to take a basket because she knew she would probably need something. Or it was just her idea of a purse, I'm not sure which. And she's traveling along the yellow brick road, and all of a sudden, it just came to me. She meets 3 companions along the way, right? Do we remember who they are? Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. Pay you $1 on Venmo if you can tell me the names of the actors, but we'll do that later. In metaphysical terms, what she meets along the way is the Trinity. And it never dawned on me until I started thinking about why is Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and the Yellow Brick Road coming into mind. She is engaging with the Trinity. Think about it. You have the Scarecrow. If he only had a brain. What's in our brain? It's mind. It's thoughts. We engage the mind. The Tin Man is, if I only had a heart. What's the heart metaphysically? Love. The heart is our love center. It's connected with mind. It's where ideas flow into it and we get feeling. And finally, the Cowardly Lion. If I only had the nerve. If I only had the nerve. If I only had the courage. And what is courage? That's strength. That's faith. To a unity person, to any person, courage is not the absence of fear, Billy Jack said in one of the Billy Jack movies, but the conquest of it. Courage, strength, faith. In the mind and in our heart, we come to a place, hopefully, on this journey, whatever the transition is, We come to a place where we acknowledge and reside with our Christ within, knowing, absolutely certain, that whatever it is that we're going through, Christ is at work within. And so when Dorothy continues on and runs into the Emerald City where the great Wizard of Oz is, right? She knows inside that there is something, her companions are there to support her. I mean, just one brief example. You know, they're walking down the Yellow Brick Road and they come upon the most phenomenal grove of trees. Do you remember this part? Right? And she's hungry. I mean, she's a human being. She's hungry, so what does she do? And what happens? What happens? The tree slaps her. And she's not used to trees slapping her with their branches. Who are you to go, you know, pulling off my fruit? And she kind of scurries away. The brain, the mind kicks in. Dorothy, the scarecrow, says, we don't want to eat those apples. There's probably worms in them, or something to that effect. So what happens? The trees start throwing the apples at them, releasing control, using our minds to engage in a different way, being open enough to engage from a different perspective to get what needs to be done accomplished. And they ate apples. Well, Dorothy did. The scarecrow really didn't eat much. But if you look at each one of the characters, something like that happens. So here they are at the Emerald City, and they get all gussied up, right? You remember they got the massages, and they're getting their hair clipped, and the Cowardly Lion looks fantastic. And then they're sent on another task by the wizard, the great and powerful. Remember the task they were, bring me the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West, who personally I liked, but I could never see Margaret Hamilton in another, she just weirded me out. You know, there's one of the actors. So what happened is that they had to go forward again in faith and with courage in order to get to their Dorothy's highest and best good. So she's using all of her, what we would call, the 12 powers in order to get to her highest good. And in the book, it's getting back to Kansas. But transitions take time. How much time? Yeah, that's it. I'm still waiting too. There's no time limit. I have heard, because I have not been fortunate enough to have a long-term relationship, that upon the death of one party to a long-term relationship, that it may take years to grieve. And I have not had that. I have bad knees, but I don't have that. You can't put a time frame on it. And you can encourage other people to snap out of it, so to speak. People have been both positive and negative with regard to the transition that I'm going in. For example, part of my transition is I had to take a leave of absence from seminary, something that is so, I've wanted it so much, and now I've had to put it on the back burner because I'm the only one that's taking care of this thing called an estate. And just as an aside, we can choose not to do anything and not face our transitions, which is what my mother did, apparently, before when my father died, because she left property in his name, and he's been transitioned for 15 years, and boy, did that add a certain level of, oh my gosh, talk about not wanting to deal with transitions, and it is a mess. Because that's what is left when you try to keep control, when you don't want to deal with the transition that's there. You leave a mess. It's okay, I'm handling it, but I'm not real happy about it. Transitions take time. And I think it depends how we handle them and the positive or negative ways that, because this is the temporal world. It can be positive or it can be negative, but as I was saying to my friend Neil back there earlier, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Neil, it was Al. Oh, come on, I'm Social Security agent. Like I was saying to Al, just because something appears to us to be negative, it's an illusion. It's there to get your attention so you can learn something, so that I can learn something, and then move ever forward towards our highest and best good. Transitions depend upon our willingness to let go. To let go of things that have changed, though maybe not the emotion that goes along with it, if it serves you well. It depends upon our willingness to obey that still small voice that we talk about when we go into meditation, right? Because what are we doing when we meditate? We're trying to be totally still and listen. If you come down to my home community at Unity of St. Louis South, you'll see a big mural. Peace. Be still. We're not doing it just to see if we can do it. We're doing it because in the silence is the voice of God. Buddha, Allah, whatever you want to call it, like Sharon Williams said, it doesn't matter what you call it, the one power, the one presence is only there if I stop talking. Well, not just me, but, when we get still and listen. We need to obey. That's what obey is. To listen to our new consciousness that provides the new ideas, the new perspectives, the new opportunities, and encourages us to go with it, even though it's scary and you think you're not in control. Not. I'm not beseeching God anymore, whatever God is. I'm demanding. And it says that. It doesn't say, please give us our, oh please give us our daily bread, give us please. It says, give us. That's a command to the universe. Give us this day our daily bread. I am affirming that that is, in fact, what is going to happen. This is not some small God. This is a God that's everywhere. And if God is everywhere, it's in me. I am affirming it, giving it to myself. Dorothy throws water on the Wicked Witch of the West, totally by accident. I mean, I think it was the Scarecrow, wasn't it? The Scarecrow was on, yes, I got an affirmation there. The Scarecrow's on fire. What does she do? She just instinctively grabs that water and throws it on the Wicked Witch of the West. It just happens to fall on her. I keep testing it by going out in the rain. I haven't melted yet. I was hoping just a few pounds. But, and she melts away. She is literally nothing. There's really nothing to her that a simple element won't take care of. But that is food for another lesson. I've got that one planned all on the Wicked Witch of the West. But Dorothy ends up with her 3 companions, right? With her 3 companions. And who appears in a great ball again? Yeah, Betty Burke. Or Billy Burke, excuse me. The good witch Glinda of the North. And she tells Dorothy, this just floored me. She tells Dorothy, well, you know, Dorothy, you've always had the power to go home. And I can't remember which one of the characters it was going, well, why didn't you tell her? Right? It's in the ruby slippers somehow. I haven't figured that one out yet. But it's in the ruby slippers. All you have to do is click your heels and say, affirm, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. But what does Glinda say when, well, why didn't you tell her this? Go ahead, I see somebody in the back.
Wasn't it she had to figure it out for herself?
She had to figure it out for herself. That's right. Marcia, very good. Isn't that what transitions are all about? No one else can do it for you. There was a guy by the name of Anthony DeMello. He was a Jesuit, been dead for almost 4 decades now. But he had a little story about seminarians or disciples coming up to the master and saying, you know, give us your light. We need to have your light. And he was like, no. I can't give you my light. Because if I give you my light, when I'm gone, you're back in darkness. I want rather to teach you how to ignite the light inside yourself so you'll never have to be in darkness again. And that's basically what Glinda was saying. You needed to go through this process in order to light that fire within, to be able to illuminate the way for yourself. So Dorothy claims her power, right? Clicks her heels. There's no place like home. And where does she end up? Back in black and white Kansas, laying in her bed, right? But what is the final thing that she has learned? Oh, Auntie M is the last line. There's no place like home. Home. The Christ within. I'll never see this movie again without knowing that it's all about transitions. And the story ends there. Mine has not, yours has not. And so I have to consider learning a few things. I have to accept and work with whatever emotions come up during this transition. I cannot put them off. They will keep the good ones and the not so good ones, will continue to irritate me until I face them. I'm learning to use some rituals. Now, as a recovering Catholic, I've been just really ignoring ritual for a long time. But some ritual is good because it provides that comfort of doing something in a sort of more routine way for me, but I'm not married to them. For me, it's a difficult to not get wedded to just because this is the process that I'm using. I have to be somewhat flexible. I'm trying new things. I kept myself isolated for literally 5 months. As some of you know here, I have recently been opening up myself and my home to a few friends, and that has been a very wonderful experience. I'm also learning to talk to trusted people. I'm learning to speak again. I did not want to have any kind of interaction with congregations like I am with you. You guys are my first for a while, and I'm very happy. And I've also had to learn, and I would like you to consider this, to embrace your vulnerability. It's in vulnerability that we find real strength. Courageous people, brave people. Anybody who's been in the military, whether it's the military or on the front lines of protest movements, I don't care, get their strength from being vulnerable. You can't go into battle without being vulnerable, and sometimes transitions feel like a battle, eh? They just do. But to be courageous means, yeah, I gotta open myself up to some pain to get to that best good. I don't know how long Dorothy had to walk on the yellow brick road, but she had to go through some pain. She had to get vulnerable. Dorothy changed her story by going on this remarkable quest. I'm changing my story. I don't know what the story's going to end up being at this point, and I'm sure going to be as prepared for the next transition as I can be, but again, they're unpredictable. I can't see what that's going to be. All of us go through transitions. But like Dorothy and her friends, we are not alone. We have our Trinity, and we have the people sitting in this room as part of our support. And that's basically all I have to say to you this morning. Again, my sincere thanks. I hope to see you all again in maybe a year, maybe sooner, I don't know. But thank you all, and let's just go into a brief meditation. So if we can get comfortable in your seat, and just take a few deep cleansing breaths in and release. And breathe in. And as you release, feel yourself just sink into where you're seated. Really feel the floor underneath your feet. And let's make, as the prayer chaplains say, that 18-inch journey from our heads to our heart. Are you in transition? How's it going? Is it scary? Are you in control? Let it all go. Release the fear. Release the worry. Be present. Feel the peace. Be still. And be, for a moment, with the one power. Gently, slowly return. Remember, we can connect any time we choose. You're never alone. I love you.
Little light on the merry-go-round. You can find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it. Ooh, we gonna walk it. Ooh, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000
We'll rise up. Thank you so much. That was incredible. I mean, it was inspiring. I got to go watch The Wizard of Oz again. So anyway, so thank you. Okay, now is the time in our service when you're invited to share your love offerings with this ministry. So if you have a gift to share, if you'll take it in your hands, and let's join in our offering blessing together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Okay, while our wonderful ushers are collecting, I'm going to share some things with you. Always use your little sheet. We write everything down for you so you can take it home. And of course, we have a class that's going on. I understand it's wonderful. It's about, let me see, it's about taking care of yourself, isn't it? Something like that. Marcia's in it. So everybody's welcome. And the information for that, you need to call Vernetta. I think it's just on Zoom, right?
No, we come
It's
here. We come here from 6 to 8 on Tuesdays.
6 to 8 on Tuesdays.
Wonderful.
It's never too late to join, and you don't have to buy the books to come to the class. Because some people may just be discouraged and think, I don't want to get all those books. But you don't have to if you don't want to. But maybe you want to get them and not come to the class. I don't know. Whatever you want to do is good. All right. Not this Monday, but next Monday, Maury has that Light Seekers Book Club, so that's in there. Movie night, this time is going to be Heaven Knows Mr. Allison, so make plans to do that. Walking the Talk is the third Sunday always, and put this on your calendar. We're having an ice cream social, Sunday, May 19th, following service. So be sure you put that on your schedule so you plan time to stay for that. And then Vernetta's got a class coming up in June. I wanted to mention the booklets. We have these booklets out there. Unity comes out with wonderful booklets. And this one is perfect. Creating Community as We Age. So those are available out there if you want to get one of those following service. I always like to remind you about the Oasis Food Pantry. We do help the people in our community. So when you go to the grocery store, just pick up a couple extra items and bring them in and put them in the bins back there. And the other thing is reminding you that our prayer chaplains are here every single Sunday after service. This is an incredible opportunity. If you have a prayer need, come up and let one of them pray with you. We're so grateful for our prayer chaplains. So thank you. And with that, let's bless our offering with our other prayer we have after the offering. Together in a consciousness of divine love, we receive as we give abundantly, magnifying these gifts and pouring them out in service. We celebrate prosperity, and so it is. Amen. And I also think we have refreshments. Do we have refreshments downstairs? We have coffee. We know we have coffee at least. So, but more than that, we actually have fellowship. So please treat yourself to that too. And now is the time in our service when we make our circle around the outside of the pews and we request prayer or we give thanks for things in our lives.